On Christmas Eve, my family laughed at my 11-year-old son after they gifted him a book on how to be a better kid. His cousin got an iPad. They called it a lesson. I walked out. When they came begging for help, I sent them the perfect gift back. Hey Reddit! My parents always treated my sister and her kid like royalty while my son got the scraps. I tried to keep the peace, but one Christmas gift ended everything. They crossed a line, and I decided I was done. Let me tell you how it all went down. My name's Bruce Reyes, I'm 32, married to Jenna, and we've got an 11-year-old son named Noah. I work as a systems engineer for a renewable energy company here in Denver. It's a decent job. Jenna's a middle school teacher, the kind of person who remembers every kid's birthday. Noah's the science nerd type, builds rockets out of cereal boxes, keeps stickers on his PS5 controller, the one we bought the night we walked out, so he can tell it's his ship. These days, mornings are quiet. I get up around 6, pack Noah's lunch. Turkey sandwich, apple, a small note Jenna always sneaks in. Coffee tastes like it always does. Burnt, but it wakes me up. Noah's soccer shin guards are usually under the kitchen table. PS5 controllers scattered across the couch. The air smells like detergent because Jenna does laundry every other night. It's not exciting, but it's calm. My phone stays on Do Not Disturb unless it's work. I keep the family group chat muted. The last thing I need is mom sending another guilt quote about honoring your parents. Sometimes I scroll up just to remind myself why I stopped replying. People ask about my parents, and I say they're gone. Easier than explaining they're alive somewhere in this city, pretending they did nothing wrong. My dad, Robert, is retired, but somehow always too busy. My mom, Elaine, spends her days doting on my sister, Sophia, who's divorced and living back at home with her daughter, Ava, same age as Noah. They're the favorites, always have been. Sophia doesn't work full-time, but mom calls her a hero. Every little thing Ava does turns into a parade. Ava read 2 books this week. Ava's teacher says she's gifted. Ava made her bed without being told. It's like a running commercial for perfect motherhood. Meanwhile, when Noah gets an A in math, mom says, "That's good, but is he behaving better now?" It wasn't always this way. Back when Dad still worked construction, he'd bring home small things for us. Plastic trucks for me, bracelets for Sophia. She'd break hers in a week, and he'd replace it. I'd lose mine once, and he'd say I didn't deserve another. It was little stuff, but over time you see the pattern. When I got older and moved out, they called less, unless they needed something. A ride to the airport, help moving furniture. I always showed up. Jenna used to say, "You're too nice to them." She wasn't wrong. Now life's just normal. I fix small things around the house, keep the bills straight, play catch with Noah after work. We have dinner together every night unless Jenna's got grading to do. Some nights we watch a movie, some nights we just sit quietly. That's peace to me. No shouting, no pretending. But even now, every year around December, I feel that knot in my chest. The one that reminds me what happened 2 Christmases ago. The one night that made me realize family isn't automatically sacred. It started with a phone call from Mom right before the holidays. She called on a Wednesday, middle of the workday, while I was fixing a server issue. I almost didn't pick up. She sounded sweet, like she'd practiced. "Hi, honey. Ava's so excited to see you all for Christmas. She's been talking about it nonstop. You are coming, right?" I said we'd think about it. Jenna was in the background, mouthing don't. Mom kept going. "It wouldn't feel like Christmas without you. Noah will love what we got him this year. Ava picked it out herself." That line stuck with me. Ava picked it out herself. It sounded harmless, but the way Mom said it, like she was doing me a favor, made my stomach twist. Still, I said yeah, we'd come. I told Jenna later that night while washing dishes. She just sighed. "Bruce, every time we go, they find a new way to make you feel small." She was right, but part of me thought maybe this time would be fine. Just dinner, some gifts, a few photos for Mom's Facebook, and we'd leave early. No fighting, no drama. Looking back, that call was the start of everything. The calm before the storm I didn't see coming. That was the last time I agreed to spend Christmas at that house. It was the Friday before Christmas, and I was still at work fixing a server that wouldn't stop crashing. Everyone else was already in holiday mode, talking about travel plans and ugly sweaters. My coworker Ryan leaned over my cubicle and said, "Man, holidays bring out the crazy in families. You ready for it?" I gave a small laugh. "Not really." He nodded. "Same. My mother-in-law's already counting how many cookies I eat." My phone buzzed. It was Mom. I didn't even have to open it to know. It was another reminder. "Dinner at 5 on Christmas Eve. Bring dessert, soda, paper plates. Ava can't wait to see Noah." "No, please. No, thanks." Just a list like she was ordering takeout. I texted back sure and pocketed my phone. When I got home, Jenna was grading papers on the couch. Noah sat on the floor surrounded by cardboard and tape, Working on a mini rocket. Mom texted, I said. Christmas dinner's at 5. She sighed. So we're doing this? Yeah, it's one evening. Jenna didn't argue, but I could tell she wanted to. Then we leave after dinner. No dessert, no staying late. Deal. Christmas Eve came fast. We loaded the car around 3. The roads were slick from last night's snow, traffic crawling. Noah talked the whole way about his science fair project. I'm gonna build a volcano that lights up, he said. Ava's doing flowers. That's kinda boring, right? Jenna smiled. It's not boring, but yours sounds cool. The radio played old Christmas songs. Dean Martin, maybe. It filled the gaps when none of us talked. Driving to that house always made me feel like I was 17 again. Uneasy and annoyed. I thought about old Christmases. Sophia tearing open her gifts, while Mom clapped like she'd won a medal. Me opening socks or a used book Dad found somewhere. Mom always said, "You're older, you don't need toys." It wasn't about fairness, it never was. By the time we pulled into their neighborhood, the sun was fading. Every house on the block was lit up except theirs. Same old wreath from 10 years ago. Same flickering porch light. I parked on the street because the driveway was full. Sophia's car front and center, of course. Through the window, I saw her already there, laughing at something on her phone. Ava sat next to her in a sparkly red dress. Mom opened the door before we even knocked. Finally, we thought you forgot where home is. Her smile was big, but not warm. The smell of roast and candles hit me right away. Dad sat in his recliner, bowl of chips on his stomach, complaining about the TV volume. Traffic, I said. Mom waved it off. Excuses, excuses, go hang your coats. Jenna smiled politely. Noah whispered, "Can I say hi to Ava?" Sure, I said, already bracing myself. Sophia looked up. Oh, look, the city folks made it. Jenna forced a polite laugh. Hey, Sophia. Ava jumped up and hugged Noah. Want to see my presents? She asked, pulling him toward the tree. Mom clapped her hands. Dinner in 10 minutes. Bruce, help your father open the wine. I don't drink, I said. Then open it for us, she replied, already walking off. In the kitchen, the table overflowed with food. Ham, mashed potatoes, pies, the usual. Sophia was talking to Dad about her promotion, which sounded like extra hours at the same pay, but Mom acted like she'd won the lottery. She's already playing Silent Night on piano, Mom said proudly. Such a natural. I told Sophia talent skips generations. She said it just loud enough for me to hear. Jenna came in carrying paper plates. Where do you want these? Mom pointed. Next to the kids section. Ava likes the pink ones. Dinner went exactly how I expected. Bragging from Sophia, small jabs from Mom and Dad. Dad asked, still doing that green energy thing? Bet that's not cheap for the company. It's doing fine, I said. Sophia added, you're lucky to have holidays off. Not everyone does. Mom laughed too loud. Not everyone can sit in an office all day. Some people actually work. Jenna gave me a look that said, let it go. When we finished eating, Mom clapped her hands again. All right, everyone, living room. Time for presents. Ava squealed and ran ahead. Noah followed slower. I stacked plates to keep busy. Mom called back, hurry, Bruce! You're missing the fun! I looked at Jenna. Fun's one word for it. The music was the same canned instrumentals as always. Lights blinking on the fake pine tree. Ornaments older than me. Gifts piled high. Most said, to Ava in shiny tags. A few small ones for me and Jenna. One plain gray box with Noah's name. Everyone was smiling, but it felt forced. That kind of fake cheer that hides tension underneath. I sat beside Jenna, trying to convince myself maybe this year would be different. I should have known better. The living room looked almost the same as it did when I was a kid. Same old fake pine tree with the patchy lights. Same star on top that leaned to one side. Same cheesy instrumental Christmas songs coming from the speaker Dad refuses to replace. The smell of roast and cinnamon candles filled the air. For a second, it almost felt normal. Ava was sitting cross-legged right in front of the tree, shaking a box like she couldn't wait another second. Sophia was recording her on her phone, narrating every second like it was breaking news. Okay, go ahead, sweetie. That one's from Grandpa and Grandma. Ava tore into it, bright paper flying everywhere, and pulled out a brand new iPad with a glittery pink case. Oh my gosh, she screamed, jumping up to hug Mom and Dad. Mom laughed like it was the greatest moment of her life. There's more, Mom said proudly, passing her another one. Next came shoes, a giant dollhouse, and an art kit. Each time, Sophia gasped like it was a surprise. Dad clapped. Mom said, see? That's what happens when you're a good girl. I tried not to roll my eyes. Noah sat next to me, legs crossed, holding his little gift bag. He wasn't jealous, just quiet, waiting his turn. He'd helped me pick out a puzzle set for Ava earlier in the week. He was proud of it. Finally, Mom turned around, scanning the floor. Ah, Here it is, she said, pulling out a small plain box from under the tree. The wrapping paper was dull gray. No bow, no ribbon. She handed it to Noah. This one's from all of us. Noah smiled and took it carefully. Thanks, Grandma. He started peeling the tape slowly, careful not to tear the paper. I remember thinking how polite he was, even now. I pulled out my phone, ready to get a picture. He opened the box, then stopped. His smile froze. Inside was a thin paperback book. The cover read, Building Your Personality, How Good Kids Grow. On top was a folded piece of paper. Noah opened it, read the words quietly, then louder so everyone could hear. Good behavior gets real rewards. Maybe next year, Noah. The whole room went silent. Noah's hands trembled as he held the paper. He looked confused more than sad at first, like he didn't get it. Ava giggled a little and said, That's funny. Sophia smirked. Oh, come on, it's a joke. Don't take it so serious. I felt my stomach drop. Jenna's hand gripped my armrest so hard her knuckles went white. I looked at my parents. Dad was sitting back, not even blinking, munching on a handful of nuts. Mom just shrugged like nothing was wrong. Dad finally spoke. He's been getting a little disrespectful lately. Thought he could use a lesson. I blinked at him. A lesson? Mom jumped in. Not every child needs to be spoiled, Bruce. You're raising him soft. Sometimes it's good to show them the real world. The real world? I repeated quietly. Noah was still staring down at that book, his eyes glassy, lower lip shaking. He looked like he was trying not to cry in front of everyone. I leaned forward. You gave a 9-year-old a self-help book and a note saying he didn't earn a real reward? Sophia rolled her eyes. You're overreacting. He'll laugh about it later. Ava thought it was funny. Yeah, Ava said, smiling nervously. It's just a joke. Jenna turned toward Mom. Her voice was low but shaking. How could you think this is okay? Mom sighed. Oh, here we go. You people are too sensitive. In this family, we teach respect. Respect? I said. You humiliated a kid in front of everyone. Dad set his bowl down. Watch your tone. Something in me snapped. Not loud, not explosive, just clean. I stood up. You know what? We're done here. Mom frowned. Done with what? We haven't even had dessert. I looked straight at her. You've got your perfect daughter. You don't need us. Sophia laughed under her breath. Oh, please don't make this dramatic. I ignored her and turned to Noah. Grab your coat, buddy. He hesitated. But we didn't. Now, I said, softer. Jenna was already on her feet. She helped him with his jacket while I slipped mine on. No one moved. The only sound was the clock ticking and the faint hum of the heater. Mom finally said, You're really leaving over a joke? I looked at her one last time. You think that was a joke? Then you're worse off than I thought. Noah stood close to me, clutching the gray box like it might explain everything. I wanted to take it from him, but I didn't want to make a scene. Not in front of them. I opened the front door. The cold air hit my face hard, sharper than I expected. Behind me, Mom's voice cracked. You'll regret walking out like this. Maybe, I said without turning around, but at least I won't regret staying. We stepped outside. The night was quiet except for the crunch of snow under our shoes. Noah looked up at me, eyes red. I put a hand on his shoulder. Inside, through the window, I could still see Ava opening another gift, everyone pretending nothing happened. I shut the door, and that sound, the heavy click of it closing, felt final. That was the last Christmas I ever spent in that house. We drove for a while without saying anything. The snow was still falling, thick and quiet, like the whole world had turned down its volume. Noah sat in the back seat with his seatbelt crossed wrong, holding that stupid gray box on his lap. The headlights caught bits of snowflakes as they slid past the windshield. Jenna looked out her window, her reflection faint in the glass. She hadn't said a word since we left. I didn't blame her. I didn't trust myself to talk either. The heater hummed. The car smelled faintly like the roast from dinner that had somehow stuck to my jacket. About 10 minutes in, I heard a small voice. Dad? Yeah. Buddy? Did I do something wrong? That hit harder than anything my parents ever said. I looked at him through the rearview mirror. His eyes were red, but he wasn't crying anymore. He just looked lost. No, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You didn't do anything wrong. You just learned what bad people call love. He nodded like he understood, but I knew he didn't. Not yet. Kids don't get how some people can smile and still cut you down in the same breath. Jenna finally spoke. Let's stop somewhere. None of us ate dessert. There was a 24-hour diner off the highway, one of those old metal ones with flickering neon signs. I pulled in. The parking lot was mostly empty except for a semi-truck and a couple of cars covered in snow. Inside, the place was warm, but smelled like burnt coffee and fries. The waitress looked half asleep. We took a booth by the window. Noah slid in beside Jenna, still holding that book like it meant something. We ordered burgers, fries, and chocolate milk for Noah. Nobody said much until the food came. He poked at his fries for a bit, then asked, "Grandma and Grandpa don't like me, do they?" Jenna's voice cracked just a little. "They don't understand what being nice means, that's all." I said, "You don't ever have to earn love. Not from people who really care about you." He nodded slowly, chewing without looking up. I could tell he was trying to move on, but I also knew that moment would stick with him for a long time. It's the kind of thing that buries itself somewhere deep, waiting to show up later when you least expect it. When we finished, I went up to pay. The cashier gave me a tired smile. "Quiet night, huh?" "Yeah," I said, sliding my card through. "One of those nights you don't forget." Back at the table, Jenna was scrolling her phone, checking store hours. "There's a big box store 20 minutes away doing extended holiday hours. They're open until 10. I knew what she meant. We made it by 9:35. The place was thinning out. Rows of glowing screens, a few last-minute shoppers, a tired teenager behind the counter. In the showcase was one PS5 bundle left behind the counter that included a couple of games. The kid at the register said, "Last one tonight. You lucky?" I nodded. "Yeah, I guess I am." While he was scanning it, I noticed something else on a small shelf. A kid's watch, dark blue, with stars printed on the band, and a tiny rocket that moved with the second hand. I grabbed it too. Noah's face lit up like someone had flipped a switch when I handed him the box. "For me?" "Yeah," I said. "You deserve something good tonight." He smiled for the first time since we left the house. Jenna smiled too, that quiet kind of smile that says more than words. A freezing rain alert pinged our phones, and the traffic app showed a wreck closing our route home. We lived 40 minutes on the other side of town. Between the ice, the hour, and a wiped-out kid, going back made no sense. We checked into a cheap motel nearby. The carpet smelled faintly of cleaning spray and dust. The heater rattled when it turned on, but at least it worked. Noah sat on the bed unpacking his console, whispering to himself about which games he wanted to play first. Jenna was brushing her teeth in the small bathroom. I sat by the window, looking out at the parking lot, lights reflecting off the snow. Jenna came out, towel over her shoulder. "You did the right thing, you know." I didn't answer right away. She walked over, sat next to me, and said it again, quieter. "You did the right thing." Noah fell asleep with the PS5 controller still in his hand, the blue light glowing faintly on his fingers. The watch was already on his wrist, ticking softly. I turned off the lamp and lay back. The heater buzzed. Snow tapped lightly against the window. I wasn't angry anymore, just tired. Tired of pretending people like that could change. Tired of letting them use the word family like a weapon. I looked over at my son sleeping, his mouth slightly open, peaceful. I thought, that's it. No more giving anyone power to hurt this kid just because they share my last name. A few weeks went by, and life started to feel normal again. Noah was back to his usual self, talking about planets, school projects, and his next soccer game. He'd set up the PS5 in the living room, and every night after homework, we'd play a few rounds together. The house felt lighter, quieter. Then one morning, my phone rang while I was making coffee. The screen said, "Mom." I stared at it for a second before answering.
"Hello."
Her voice came fast, sharp like always. "Bruce, your father's sick. He's been coughing for days, and we're behind on rent. Sophia can't handle everything alone. You need to help." I didn't say anything at first. I just listened to the sound of her breathing through the speaker. "Bruce, are you there?" she asked. "I'm here," I said, "but I'm not helping." "What do you mean you're not helping?" she snapped. "We're your parents. You owe us that much." "I don't owe you anything," I said. "You made your choices. Now live with them." She went quiet for a second, then let out this small laugh that didn't sound amused. "You'll regret talking to me like this. We're still your family." "No," I said. "Family doesn't do what you did." I hung up before she could answer. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. This time it was Dad. He didn't waste time. "You think you're better than us now?" "I think I'm done being your safety net," I said. He took a breath, the kind of long, fake one people do when they want to sound calm but aren't. "Don't come begging when you need us." I laughed once. I never did. Then I hung up again. That night, I told Jenna about the calls. She didn't seem surprised. "They're running out of things to control," she said. "When people like that lose power, they panic." She was right. A few days later, I was eating lunch at work when my phone started lighting up with notifications. Facebook, texts, missed calls. I opened one message from an old friend that just said, "Bro, you okay?" Saw something online. I opened Facebook, and there it was. Sophia had posted a picture of my parents sitting on their couch. The caption said, "Some people forget their parents once they get a new house and money, but I'll always be here for mine. Family first." She'd tagged them both. The comments were exactly what you'd expect. That's so sad. Money really changes people. At least they still have you, Sophia. Even a couple of distant relatives chimed in. I scrolled through them slowly, my stomach turning. I knew what she was doing. They couldn't get me to come running, so now they'd try public guilt. At the bottom of the post, one of my coworkers had left a comment with just a question, Bruce. I deleted my Facebook app right there. That night, Jenna found me sitting on the couch, scrolling through screenshots of the post on my work laptop. She sat down next to me and said, "Let them talk. Truth comes out on its own." "Yeah," I said, "but they're lying about me to everyone." "Doesn't matter," she said. "People who matter already know the truth." I wanted to believe that. I really did. But seeing strangers judge you like they know your life, it gets under your skin. Later that night, after Jenna went to bed, I sat in the dark living room. I opened my phone again and scrolled through old videos. Then I found it, the one from that Christmas night. The short clip I'd recorded right before everything went wrong. Noah sitting cross-legged, smiling, peeling the tape off the gray box. His small voice reading the note out loud. "Good behavior gets real rewards. Maybe next year, Noah." And then the silence that followed. His face. Jenna's hand grabbing my arm. I watched it twice. 3 times. My jaw clenched, but I didn't feel anger anymore. Just something heavier. I thought about how Sophia's post made them look like victims. How everyone was rushing to comfort them. How the same people would have stayed quiet if they'd seen what really happened. I put the phone down, stared at it for a few seconds, then picked it back up. "All right," I said out loud, my voice low. "Let's tell the truth." Jenna stirred in the bedroom but didn't wake up. I opened the Facebook app on my computer, logged back in, and found Sophia's post again. Thousands of reactions, dozens of comments, all sympathy for her. I clicked Add Post. No words, no explanations. Just that video, the one that showed everything. Then I hit Post, and sat back in silence, waiting to see how fast the truth spreads compared to lies. The post went up at 11:47 p.m. No caption, no tag, no explanation. Just the clip. Noah's small voice reading the note. The silence that followed. That 30 seconds said everything I'd been holding in for years. At first, nothing happened. Then the notification started. By the time I brushed my teeth and came back, the video already had hundreds of views. 10 minutes later, thousands. People shared it faster than I could refresh the page. The comments came in like a wave. This made me cry. Who does this to a kid? This family sounds toxic as hell. By morning, it had exploded. People from our hometown were tagging friends, sharing it with captions like, "You never know what goes on behind closed doors." Sophia's post disappeared by sunrise. Mom replaced hers with a quote image about forgiveness. Dad didn't say anything online, but I saw he'd changed his profile picture to a family photo from before any of this happened. I didn't respond. I took screenshots of everything, every post, every comment, every message where someone sided with her. Then I zipped the folder and sent it to my old friend Daniel, who worked in law. He called me that same afternoon. "Bruce, I just read everything. You've got a solid defamation case here." We met the next day. His office was quiet, stacks of files everywhere. He read through Sophia's post, her edits, and the comments out loud. "She directly accused you of abandoning your parents and letting them get evicted," he said. "That's false and damaging." "Yeah," I said. "And she knew it." He nodded. "Then we'll file. Keep your receipts, don't engage." 2 days later, Sophia got served. It happened on a Saturday morning outside Mom's house. A process server handed her the envelope on the driveway while she was unloading groceries. She froze when she saw what it was. I know because she called me 20 minutes later. "Are you out of your mind?" she shouted the second I answered. "You're suing me? Your own sister?" "You shouldn't have lied about me," I said. "It wasn't a lie, Bruce. It was family business. You didn't have to embarrass everyone on the internet." "Family business? You posted lies on Facebook. You turned my parents' cruelty into a pity story. Oh, so you think you're a saint now?" You made Mom cry. "Dad hasn't slept in days." "They made my kid cry, Sophia. Remember that part?" There was silence for a few seconds. Then she said, "You could have just called me instead of making a show out of it." "I tried talking to all of you for years," I said. "Every conversation turned into an attack or a guilt trip. This time, I'm done talking." She let out a bitter laugh. "You really think a judge is going to care about a stupid Facebook post?" "Guess we'll find out," I said, and hung up. The day of the injunction hearing came 2 weeks later. I didn't feel nervous, just ready. Jenna sat beside me in the waiting area, flipping through her phone. I could tell she was tense but trying not to show it. When we walked into the courtroom, Sophia was already there with her lawyer. She looked different, tired, defensive, like the confident version of her from social media had cracked. Mom wasn't there. Dad stayed home. The judge went straight through the documents. Daniel presented the screenshots and the timeline. Then he played the clip. Noah's voice echoed in the quiet courtroom. Everyone went still. The judge looked up from the monitor. Even Sophia's lawyer looked uncomfortable. When the video ended, Daniel said, "This is the truth my client was defending himself against." Sophia's lawyer stood up and tried to spin it. "It was a misunderstanding, Your Honor. She was emotional and exaggerated the situation, but she didn't intend to harm anyone." The judge turned to Sophia. "You posted public statements claiming your brother abandoned your parents and that they were left homeless. Is that true?" Sophia shifted in her chair. "Not exactly, so it's false," the judge said flatly. She didn't answer. The judge sighed, flipped through the file, then read the order. The court grants a preliminary injunction. The defendant shall remove the posts, shall not republish or make substantially similar statements, and shall not contact the plaintiff about this dispute outside counsel. Violation may result in contempt of court. The gavel hit the desk once. Done. Sophia's face went pale. Her lawyer started packing up quietly. She didn't look at me as she walked out. Outside the courthouse, Jenna squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I just wish it hadn't come to this." Daniel came out behind us, folder in hand. "You did what you had to." "This wasn't revenge, Bruce. It was accountability." I nodded. When we got home, Noah was on the couch, headset on, laughing while playing his game. I stood there for a moment, just watching him. Same small kid who once held that gray box, now smiling again. Jenna smiled too. "You didn't win in court," she said softly. "You won here." I looked at him again and said, "Yeah, that's all that matters." Within a week, her lawyer called to settle. We signed a written agreement, a pinned public apology for 6 months, permanent takedown, a non-disparagement clause, and $43,000 to cover damages and fees. If she violated it, the judge could hold her in contempt. It had been almost 4 months since the court hearing and settlement. Life went back to quiet again, the kind of quiet I'd wanted for years. Noah was doing great. He'd joined a small science club at school, and every Thursday he came home with something new. A mini volcano, a paper rocket, or some project involving way too much glue. The PS5 was still his favorite thing in the world, but now it was more than a game console. It was his space, his safe corner. Every Friday night we had our own little ritual. Pizza, root beer, and movie night. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Sometimes Noah would ask, "Are we ever going to see Grandma and Grandpa again?" And I'd just shake my head. "No, buddy. We've got our own family now." He'd nod and go back to playing, like he understood enough not to ask again. Work was good. Jenna was happy. The house finally felt like home. I even built a small fire pit in the backyard for Noah's camping nights. He'd invite friends from school, and they'd roast marshmallows until the fire went out. Watching him laugh under the porch lights was the closest thing to peace I'd ever felt. Then one evening, my phone rang. It was my aunt's number. I almost didn't pick up, but curiosity won for a second. "Hey, Aunt May," I said. Her voice was shaky, quieter than usual. "Bruce, your mom's in the hospital. They said it's serious. She's been asking to see you and Noah." I didn't answer right away. The sound of Noah laughing drifted from the living room. He was playing online with his friends, headset on, yelling about something exploding in his game. Aunt May spoke again, softer. "She keeps saying she wants to make things right. Maybe just talk to her? For closure?" I looked toward the living room again. Jenna was sitting on the couch, smiling at something Noah said. The whole room felt warm, safe, alive. I took a slow breath and said, "Tell her son died that Christmas Eve." "Bruce, just tell her," I said, keeping my voice calm. Then I hung up. The phone sat on the counter for a long time before I turned it face down. That night, I barely slept. Not because I felt guilty, but because I didn't feel anything. The part of me that used to want her approval was gone. I'd buried it 2 years ago when Noah opened that empty box. The next morning, I woke up early. Jenna was still asleep, and Noah was snoring softly in his room. I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and drove to the bookstore downtown, the one that always smelled like paper and coffee. I walked straight to the self-help section. Rows of bright covers with titles about change, growth, kindness. I picked one up. How to be a decent human. Respect, empathy, accountability. The title made me half smile. It was too perfect. At the register, the cashier said, "Gift wrap?" "Yeah," I said. "Plain paper's fine." She handed me a pen when she saw me flipping open the cover. Writing a note? Something like that. Inside the first page, I wrote, "Return gift. Maybe this will help you build your personality." I signed nothing. No name, no initials. Just that. When I got home, I found a small box in the garage, packed the book inside, sealed it, and printed their apartment address on top. They were still on the lease at their apartment. I'd seen the mail once or twice by accident. Later that afternoon, I drove to the post office. It was quiet inside, just 2 clerks and the sound of packages sliding along the counter. I handed mine over. "Anything fragile?" the clerk asked. "No," I said. "It's just a book." He nodded, printed a label, and dropped it into a bin. The sound of it landing made something settle inside me. Not joy, not sadness, just closure. When I got back, the smell of grilled chicken hit me before I even opened the door. Jenna was outside by the grill, flipping pieces while Noah ran circles around the dog with a cardboard rocket in his hand. "Hey, Dad! Look what I made!" he yelled, waving it in the air. "Nice," I said, laughing. "That thing gonna fly?" "Maybe, but if it doesn't, I'll just build a better one," he said. That answer stayed with me. Simple, but right. Jenna turned from the grill. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just mailed something I should have sent a long time ago." She raised an eyebrow. "Good or bad?" "Neither," I said. "Just necessary." We ate outside that evening. The air was cool, the kind of late spring breeze that carries the smell of grass and smoke. Noah talked nonstop about his next school project, something about building a mini weather station. Jenna laughed every time he got too technical. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was waiting for something to go wrong. There was no phone call that could ruin this, no guilt creeping in. Just quiet, honest peace. When the sun dipped behind the fence, I leaned back in my chair and looked around. My wife, my kid, the small house we'd built from scratch, the sound of the dog barking at nothing. It was everything I needed. Family, I realized, isn't who shares your name. It's who shows up when you need peace, not power. I watched Noah chase the dog through the yard and felt something loosen inside me, like the last piece of the past finally broke off and drifted away. Jenna reached across the table, squeezed my hand, and said, "You okay?" I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "We're good." YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.